The galaxy was full of voices. Thousands of species spoke, argued, and made deals across the stars. Empires rose and fell. Wars burned entire worlds. And through it all, one strange species kept silent: humans. The humans were known everywhere, but not for power. They traded, they learned, they explored. They built small colonies on quiet planets. They were polite, almost too polite. Other species called them harmless, soft, and weak. Some laughed at them. Others ignored them. No human had ever raised their voice in the grand halls of the Galactic Council. No human had ever threatened war or demanded respect. For centuries they stayed quiet. But silence is not weakness. Sometimes silence hides something else. On the council world of Vela Prime, hundreds of alien leaders gathered inside the Great Silver Dome. Bright lights shone down from the ceiling, and the voices of 100 different tongues echoed through the chamber. A tall reptilian general slammed his clawed hand on the table. "These humans," he hissed, "they are nothing. They have no armies, no fleets, and yet they sit among us, pretending to be equals." The crowd of leaders laughed. A few nodded in agreement. An insectoid ambassador tapped its sharp legs on the ground. Harmless, yes. Always smiling. Always quiet. Like prey animals before the hunters strike. The laughter grew louder. At the far end of the hall, a human representative sat quietly. His name was Ambassador Elias Kane. His hair was gray, his hands calm on the table. He had listened to these insults for years, never answering. But this time, something was different. Outside the council dome, a message was spreading across the galaxy. A border colony of humans had been attacked. Not by pirates, not by chance. It was an organized strike by a powerful empire, the Krith Dominion. The Krith believed humans would not fight back. They thought Earth's colonies were easy targets. They thought they could take what they wanted and no one would care. But the humans cared. Oh, they cared deeply. Whole families had been slaughtered. Cities were left burning. Millions of human lives were lost in silence, and that silence was about to break. Inside the council chamber, another alien spoke with mocking laughter. The weakest species should know their place. They should serve, not speak. The room shook with cruel laughter again. Then a sound cut through the noise. A voice. It was Ambassador Kane. Enough. The single word was calm, quiet. Yet it froze the chamber. So laughter died. Every alien turned to look at the human who had finally spoken. Kane stood slowly. His eyes were sharp, his voice steady. "For centuries we have listened. We have stayed silent, not because we are weak, but because we remember. We remember what happens when humans raise their voice." Some leaders scoffed. Others felt a strange unease crawl down their spine. The reptilian general sneered. "And what will you do, little human? Send your traders? Your farmers?" Kane's lips curved into the faintest smile. "No, we will send the ones you have never met. The ones we keep in the shadows of history. The ones we hoped we would never need again." The chamber fell silent. "What do you mean?" the insectoid ambassador asked nervously. Kane's voice dropped lower, almost a whisper. "Our soldiers. Our warriors. Our makers of fire and war. Do you think humanity forgot how to fight? We only forgot how to stop." The silence deepened. The air in the room grew heavier. Many leaders shifted uncomfortably, though they did not know why. Far away on the quiet blue planet called Earth, lights were turning on in underground bunkers. Old machines long hidden were awakening. Steel doors opened. Engines roared. Shadows of massive warships rose from deep oceans and dark craters. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was waiting. And now, humanity was angry. Back in the council chamber, Kane finished his words. "You laughed at us. You called us the weakest. You believed our silence was weakness. But hear me now and remember these words." He leaned forward, his eyes like fire. "When humanity speaks, the universe will tremble." And for the first time in centuries, every species in the chamber felt something they had never felt before when looking at humans. Fear. The words of Ambassador Kane spread across the galaxy like fire. The speech was recorded, shared, and replayed on every world. Some species laughed, saying it was only human arrogance. Others felt a cold fear in their hearts, though they could not explain why. The Krith Dominion, the ones who had attacked the human colony, laughed the loudest. Their warlords stood in black-armored halls, their claws tapping against steel floors. "Humans are prey," one Krith general snarled. "They bark like small animals, but they cannot bite. Let them speak. Their words are wind. But the Krith were wrong. On Earth, silence gave way to thunder. In the mountains of old America, giant doors hidden under stone began to slide open. Beneath them, vast hangars lit up for the first time in centuries. Rows of ships, black and silent, powered up as their engines roared to life. In the deserts of Asia, long-forgotten bases woke. Soldiers in dark uniforms stepped forward, their faces calm, their eyes sharp. They carried weapons no alien had ever seen before. Beneath the oceans, titanic machines rose from the depths. Massive submarines, part fortress, part carrier, surfaced like steel leviathans. Water poured from their sides as their decks lit with red fire. Humanity had hidden its true strength for generations. While the galaxy saw only traders, farmers, and explorers, the warriors of Earth had been waiting. Waiting for the moment silence would no longer protect them. That moment had come. Back on Vela Prime, the council chamber was restless. The alien leaders whispered among themselves, nervous. Many had mocked humanity, but now Kane's words would not leave their minds. One ambassador, a feathered creature from the Scythe species, spoke softly to another. "Do you believe them? That humans truly have armies hidden away?" The other shook its head. "If they had such power, we would have seen it. No, this is only a bluff." But deep down, doubt spread, and doubt was dangerous. On the edge of human space, the Krith Dominion continued their attack. They sent more fleets, confident that the humans would bow. A Krith commander stood on the bridge of his warship, his teeth bared in a cruel smile. "Burn their worlds! Make them kneel!" Suddenly alarms screamed. The stars outside shifted. Shadows appeared where no ships had been before. Massive shapes slid into view, human warships rising from stealth. Their designs were unlike anything in the galaxy. Sharp, black, and silent like predators waiting in the dark. The Krith commander stared in disbelief. Impossible. And then the first human ship fired. The galaxy had always thought of humans as quiet, harmless, weak. Now, for the first time in living memory, they would see the truth. The weakest species was no longer silent, and the universe was about to tremble. The Krith warships were vast, built for terror. Each one carried thousands of soldiers, heavy plasma cannons and shields that had crushed countless enemies. Against smaller races, the Krith never lost. But this was not a smaller race. This was humanity. The first human strike came swift and silent. A single black warship drifted out of the shadows, almost invisible against the stars. For a heartbeat, the Krith commander thought it was a trick of his eyes. Then the ship's hull split open, and light poured out. A beam of energy cut through space like a knife. It tore through the nearest Krith battleship, slicing its armor in half. The Krith vessel exploded in silence, fire blooming in the vacuum. Shock froze the Dominion fleet. The Krith commander roared, "Return fire." Cannons lit the void, plasma bolts tearing toward the lone human ship. But the vessel moved like no warship the Krith had ever seen. It twisted, vanished, and reappeared on their flank. Its black surface bent the light around it, almost invisible until it fired again. Another Krith warship fell, then another. The humans were not only fighting, they were hunting. In the hidden command center on Earth, Admiral Celeste Ward stood before a glowing tactical screen. Her voice was steady as she gave orders. Phase 1 is complete. Phase 2, deploy the fleets. Around her, officers confirmed. Across human colonies, fleets long hidden rose from their bunkers, hangars, and oceans. Thousands of ships launched, moving with terrifying precision. For centuries, humanity had studied the galaxy's wars. They had learned every mistake, every weakness, and now their silence had become their greatest weapon. The galaxy never prepared for humanity's roar. Back on the Krith flagship, fear spread. The commander's claws scraped against the metal railing. His warlord pride was cracking. "This cannot be," he growled. "They were weak." An officer turned, his eyes wide. "Commander, the humans are not just strong. They are coordinated. Every strike is perfect. Every movement calculated." The commander's heart sank. He realized the truth too late. The humans had not been silent out of fear. They had been silent out of patience. And now, patience had ended. At the same time, in the Galactic Council, Ambassador Kane received a transmission. The chamber's screens lit up with images of Krith warships burning, human fleets advancing like shadows across the stars. The alien leaders stared in horror. The insectoid ambassador whispered, "Impossible. The weakest species is destroying the Krith?" Kane's expression was calm, almost cold. "No, humanity does not destroy without reason. But when we are forced—" He paused, eyes sharp as steel. "We do not stop." On the battlefield, the Krith commander gave his last order. "Retreat. Retreat now." But there was no retreat. The human fleet closed in from every direction. Warships cut through their lines like blades, and the once proud Dominion fleet was shattered. The first battle was over. Humanity had spoken. And the galaxy was listening. The Krith Dominion had never known defeat. Their fleets had crushed dozens of races. Their armies had burned planets, and their empire had spread like fire across the stars. But now, silence filled their command halls. Reports came in from every fleet. Human ships had struck with impossible speed. Krith warships that had stood for centuries were gone in hours. Colonies they thought defenseless were suddenly shielded by hidden weapons. The Dominion had lost more in one battle than in 100 years of war. The unthinkable had happened. The Krith were afraid. In the Galactic Council, chaos reigned. Leaders shouted over each other, wings flapping, claws tapping, voices rising in panic. "This is madness. The humans have unleashed weapons we have never seen. They lied. They hid their armies from us. No, they protected us from themselves." The council floor shook with the noise. None could agree. Fear twisted their words. And then Ambassador Kane stood again. Calm, silent, waiting until the voices died. "You wanted to know who we are," he said softly. "Now you begin to see." The insectoid ambassador clattered its mandibles nervously. Why did you stay silent for so long?" Kane's eyes darkened. "Because silence kept us safe. And it kept you safe as well." The chamber fell still. On Earth, Admiral Celeste Ward watched the galaxy burn with news of their victory. She stood in a dark command room, the glow of star maps lighting her face. "Phase 2 is complete," an officer reported. Ward nodded. "Prepare Phase 3. The galaxy must understand." "Admiral," another officer asked carefully, "do we show them everything?" Ward's voice was cold steel. "Not yet. They are not ready to see all of it." Meanwhile, the survivors of the Krith fleet limped back to their empire. Their warlord council gathered in fury, their pride shattered. "They cannot defeat us again," one roared. Another slammed his claw into the table. "Then you lead the next fleet. See if you return alive." Silence followed. None wanted to face the humans again. The Krith had conquered countless worlds, but in their darkest chambers, they now spoke one word in fear. Humans. The galaxy was watching. Small races once bullied by the great empires whispered in hope. "The humans fight for their own. Maybe they will fight for us too." But the great powers, the iron-fisted empires who ruled for centuries, watched with dread. If humans had hidden this power for so long, what else were they hiding? And most terrifying of all, if the weakest species could do this, what would they do next? In the council chamber, Ambassador Kane gave his final words before leaving. "Remember this. We are not conquerors. We are not monsters. But if you strike us, if you harm our people, then we will remind you why silence was the greatest mercy humanity ever gave." And with that, he walked out. The chamber remained frozen in silence. For the first time in history, the galaxy trembled not because of warlords, empires, or ancient powers. It trembled because humans had spoken. The galaxy could not sleep. Every news channel, every starport, every council world repeated the same words. The humans had spoken. The battle against the Krith had spread like wildfire through the stars. Whole empires trembled. Traitors whispered. Smugglers spread rumors. And in every corner of the galaxy, people asked the same question. What would the humans do next? On Earth, the command halls glowed with activity. Admiral Celeste Ward stood before her officers reviewing star maps that stretched across hundreds of systems. Phase 3 begins now, she ordered. Her officers hesitated. One finally spoke. Admiral, with respect, if we move forward, the galaxy will no longer see us as weak. They will see us as a threat. Ward's eyes were sharp, her voice calm. They already do. Better they fear the truth than mock a lie. The silence in the room carried weight. Humanity had always been the quiet one in the galaxy. Now they stood revealed, and there was no turning back. Far across the stars, in the dark chambers of the Krith Dominion, rage filled the air. The warlords gathered around a great iron table, their claws dripping with fury. "We must strike back." One roared, "Strike back?" Another snarled, "Did you not see what happened? They destroyed fleets we thought invincible. We would be throwing ourselves into fire." The Warlord Council argued, but beneath their anger was fear. For the first time in their proud history, the Krith did not know what to do. One younger commander whispered the thought that none wanted to say aloud. What if the humans are stronger than all of us combined? Silence followed. None dared answer. Meanwhile, in the Galactic Council, the other species were divided. Some smaller nations secretly celebrated. The humans fight back against tyrants. Maybe they are the shield we always needed. But the great empires saw danger. A scaled emperor hissed at his advisors. If humans can break the Krith, they may one day break us too. The galaxy began to split. Those who hoped for humanity's rise, and those who feared it. In the council chamber, whispers filled the air when Kane returned. This time, every eye turned to him with caution. The insectoid ambassador leaned forward. "Tell us, human. Do you intend to conquer us?" Kane's face was calm, unreadable. "No. Humanity has no wish to rule this galaxy. But remember this, never again will we kneel." The chamber fell silent at his words. For the first time, they understood. Humanity did not seek an empire. Humanity sought freedom, and to protect that freedom, they would unleash power beyond imagination. On Earth, Admiral Ward stood alone at the window of her command tower, watching the stars glitter against the night sky. She whispered to herself words only she could hear. "They think this was our strength. They have no idea what still sleeps in the dark." And in the silent depths of space, hidden fleets and forgotten weapons waited. Because humanity had only just begun. The galaxy thought they had seen humanity's strength. The destruction of the Krith fleet was proof enough. But what no one understood was simple. That was only the beginning. Deep beneath Earth's surface, far below mountains and oceans, there were places no outsider had ever seen. Old tunnels led to chambers filled with machines that had not awakened for centuries. Some were weapons, others were something far more dangerous, creations that bent science itself. In one dark chamber, a long shape rested under layers of steel. Its surface was smooth, black, and marked with symbols even humans barely remembered. Lights flickered across its skin as power returned. An officer standing beside Admiral Celeste Ward whispered nervously, "Ma'am, if we release this, the galaxy will never be the same." Ward's voice was steady. "That is the point. The galaxy must understand what silence has been hiding." Meanwhile, across alien worlds, fear spread like wildfire. In the floating cities of the Avrians, citizens gathered around glowing screens. They watched human warships move like shadows across the stars. Mothers held their children tighter. Fathers whispered warnings. On the frozen moons of the Quarren, workers stopped their mining drills to watch the news. "If humans can defeat the Krith," one muttered, "who can stop them?" The fear was not only in the streets, it reached into the palaces of emperors and the strongholds of warlords. For the first time, every power in the galaxy had to ask the same question. What if humanity wanted more than survival? In the Galactic Council, tension burned. The scaled emperor slammed his fist against the table. "We must unite. If we wait, the humans will grow unstoppable." But another leader, feathered and calm, shook her head. "You speak of war, but war has already shown us the truth. The humans are not weak. If we attack, we may all fall as the Krith did." The council was divided, every word dripping with fear and doubt. At the center of it all, Ambassador Kane watched silently. His expression never changed. He knew the galaxy's greatest danger was not humanity's strength. It was humanity's patience finally ending. Back on Earth, the Admiral stood before her officers. "Our silence is over," she said. "But our war is not," one officer asked carefully. Admiral, do we reveal them? The room grew tense. Everyone knew what that word meant. Not fleets. Not weapons. Something older. Something worse. Ward paused, then shook her head. Not yet. The galaxy is not ready to see the true face of humanity. Far across the stars, in a dead sector long abandoned, ancient signals flickered to life. Old machines began to hum. A forgotten human fleet, hidden for generations, opened its eyes. Their captains awoke from deep stasis, their ships cloaked in black silence. The galaxy thought humans had spoken. But the truth was, humanity had only whispered. And when they truly roared, no empire would stand. The galaxy was no longer the same. The battle with the Krith had shaken the stars. The Council's endless arguments showed weakness. Empires that once laughed now whispered in fear. Small races prayed, great rulers trembled, and through it all humanity stood silent once more. Not out of fear, but out of choice. On Earth, Admiral Celeste Ward watched the fleets gather. Thousands of ships, dark as shadows, filled the void around the blue planet. They waited for her command. An officer asked in a low voice, "Admiral, the galaxy watches. What do we tell them?" Ward turned, her face calm but her eyes burning with fire. "We tell them the truth. That humanity is done hiding." In the Galactic Council, the Great Hall was silent as Ambassador Kane stepped forward once again. No jeers, no laughter. Every alien eye fixed on him, afraid of what he might say. He spoke slowly, his voice steady. "For centuries we were silent. You thought it weakness. You thought it fear. But silence was mercy. Mercy for you. Mercy for the galaxy. We remembered what we once were. And we prayed we would never have to show it again." The council chamber seemed to grow colder with every word. Kane's voice hardened. "You mocked us. You struck our people. You spilled human blood. And now you ask what we will do." He leaned forward, eyes sharp as a blade. "We will endure. We will protect our own. And if the galaxy dares to test us again..." The hall went utterly silent. Even the air felt heavy. "Then we will remind you why humanity's silence lasted so long." Far away on the borders of human space, the Krith Dominion tried one last, desperate strike. They sent their remaining fleets clawing for revenge, desperate to save their pride. But what they found was not silence. The human fleets descended like shadows. Ships moved as one, precise and merciless. Weapons cut through the void, tearing apart the Krith's last hope. The warlords screamed, their empire burning before their eyes. For centuries, the Krith had been the predators. Now they were prey, and humanity was the hunter. Across the galaxy, worlds watched in awe. On small colonies long bullied by empires, people cheered. On rich capital planets, rulers sat in fear, wondering if they were next. One truth echoed from star to star. The weakest species had risen. In the council chamber, no one dared to speak. Kane looked at them all, leaders of empires, rulers of armies, and gave the final words. "Do not mistake us. We are not here to conquer. We are not here to rule, but never again will humanity kneel. Never again will we be silent when our people bleed. And if the galaxy cannot live with that truth, then let it tremble." Back on Earth, Admiral Ward stood before her fleets. Her voice carried across every channel to every corner of human space. Humanity has spoken, and the stars will remember. The galaxy had always believed the humans were the weakest species, but when humanity finally roared, the universe trembled, and it would never forget the sound. The galaxy thought the story was over. The Krith Dominion was broken. The council was silent, and humanity had spoken at last. But deep in the quiet corners of space, something else stirred. On Earth, Admiral Celeste Ward stood alone in the war room. The great maps of human fleets glowed on the walls, showing victory after victory, but her eyes were not on the maps. She stared instead at a single dark star marked in red. An officer entered. "Admiral, the galaxy believes we are finished. They think this war is won." Ward's voice was low. "This war was never against the Krith. They were only the spark. The real fire has not yet come." The officer frowned. "Do you mean them?" Ward turned, her face shadowed by the dim light. "Yes, the ones who were here before us. The ones who once trembled when humanity roared long ago." Meanwhile, Ambassador Kane prepared to leave the council world. Aliens watched him in silence as he walked through the shining halls.
Some bowed their heads in respect.
Others turned away in fear. A young alien envoy, trembling, asked, "Will humanity conquer us?" Kane stopped and looked at him. His expression was unreadable. No, humanity seeks no thrones, but if something far worse comes for this galaxy, remember this. He leaned closer, his voice a whisper that chilled the envoy's bones. Humanity is not your enemy. Humanity is your shield. Then Kane walked away, leaving only silence behind. Far beyond the edges of known space, in the black between galaxies, ancient eyes opened. Machines older than memory stirred. Signals long buried crackled across the void. And deep in that silence, a voice spoke in a language no alien could understand. Only humans would recognize it. Only humans would remember. Back on Earth, Ward received a secret transmission. The screen lit with static before showing a hidden archive symbol. Her eyes narrowed. She spoke only 3 words. They have returned. The galaxy believed humanity had shown its greatest strength, but the truth was darker. Humanity had not revealed its final power. They had only prepared for the real war, the one the universe did not yet know was coming, and when that war began, the galaxy would not tremble, it would burn.